All right, testing, testing. Sounds good to me. Sounds great to me. Okay, hi, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Donna Kebra and I create space for radical bad bitch shit. If that feels aligned to you, then you have hit the right place. And if that sounds like something really abstract and like, what does that even mean? That means you should stick around and figure out. All right. So I came down here today because I really felt like an urge to talk about current events that are happening, specifically surrounding Sexy Red, celebrity culture, Palestine, and like how they're all intertwined in some kind of way. So yeah, like ultimately I was just feeling really called to do so because I've always had like a worldview of things that are right, things that are proper, and wanting to speak out against atrocities of the world. And since I have this platform on YouTube, though it's not always centered on politics and political analysis, I feel like it is my duty to speak about the things that a lot of people may not be informed on, or maybe it's expressed in a way that is like unaccessible or like hard to understand. So I'm just hoping that like me putting in my 2 cent allows people who watch my videos, people who come across these videos to maybe get a different viewpoint and like able to digest things in a way that is different. Okay, so I took a little notes, took some notes. I got my little mic here. Like this is like a different setup than what I usually do because I figured and realized that like the audio was so trash. Because I was using like just my phone and like AirPods if I remember. Sometimes I'm just using the phone audio and like the AC would be picked up or the heater is being picked up. And then also like just being far away, it was just like not the best audio. So I have a little mic situation going on. And then I also have some headphones in just to make sure that the audio is sounding right. We figuring this out, girl. Okay, we on a journey together, friend. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of different kind of switch ups and updates and like upgrades and all of that. You feel me? So yeah, I got some notes here on my little trusty dusty iPad. I also got my Champeezy, Faux Sheezy, my Neezy. So I encourage those to like, hey, come on, libations. Okay, cause this is heavy. And yeah, this is heavy. So cheers. Ah, Prosecco? Hmm. Prosecco gonna hit every time. I love me some Prosecco. But anyway, so I came here to talk about Sexy Red and how there has been like this dilemma, like she's been shot into fame, celebrity status, and all these things. And how like there's just standard of expectation for her to be like this upstanding black woman to represent all black women and like just be, the like the mentor to all black children and like she's supposed to be like a leader to all black women and black girls and stuff like that. And I just find it really interesting and funny how she is put on that weird pedestal, and how unfortunate it is for her and her mental health. She hasn't discussed her mental health or how she's doing or anything like that. Luckily she's like carefree, quote unquote, hashtag trademark carefree, but still like we all know and we've seen through history what celebrity culture can do to someone, with people like Britney Spears, with people like Megan Thee Stallion, and how celebrities are kind of like forced into the spotlight out of their control, and where every little thing that they do gets picked apart, ultimately to like destroy them as a person. And then a few years later, we're just like, oh my God, well, how horrible, free Britney. Like, oh my God, they did her so wrong. So I just want to talk about like that. So let's just dive on in and talk about who Sexy Red is. So if you don't know, Sexy Red is a rapper who is 25 years old. She's from St. Louis, Missouri. So she has some popular songs like A Thousand Jugs, Since That God Gave You, Pound Town 2, and Ski Yeet. So she's been having like a whole bunch of like fun summer bops and things like that. Sexy Red has been rapping for a very long time. She's been rapping for years. Like I remember hearing about Sexy Red and like how she did that remix to A Thousand Miles, and she called it A Thousand Jugs, like I had said earlier. And me being like, who is this person? Like I remember hearing that song and being like, who is this? So Sexy Red has been rapping for a while and she's pretty young. Let's remember she's 25 years old. So with the connotations and stereotypes that come with Sexy Red is the fact that like she's seen as ghetto, hood, ignorant, and hoe adjacent. You know, she talks about fucking niggas, she's talking about fucking niggas raw, she talks about like getting money and like things like that. She's also seen as confident, resilient, authentic, and determined. She's been rapping for at least 5 years and it has been climbing into stardom. Like Sexy Red is definitely the type of artist that we can see who has been putting in the work. She has a passion for rapping. She's extremely talented, and she wasn't just like found out of just like a one hit wonder kind of situation. Like Sexy Red has been working really hard to get to the where she is, right? So the connotations that come with Sexy Red are rooted in classism, misogynoir, anti-blackness, whorephobia, and anti-matriarchy. So I have seen commentary that ranges of people, like people are always like, there's always a debate going on surrounding Sexy Red on whether or not she's clean or if she's dirty or if she's worthy of success and things like that. And that's clearly because of the isms and schisms that I had just named earlier of like whorephobia, misogynoir, classism, and things like that. Because we're not asking like those kind of questions to like white women. We're not asking those kind of questions about like Grimes and Adele and shit like that. Like it's black women are always just like, does she? But is she successful enough? But is she talented enough? But is she like this enough? Right? Like always have to be like proving that you're worthy of success and worthy of fame and stardom. So yeah, like every time I see conversations with Sexy Red, it's always surrounding like, okay, but is she clean? Okay, but is she, like someone that should be representing the black community and things like that? I'm jumping ahead of myself, but essentially that's where it goes. These are things that have followed black people in general and black people that are loud and proud. So black women, black men, black queer people who are loud and proud are always put into this category of like, but is she classy enough? Is she someone that should be representing black people? Is it someone that should be in the spotlight? Like you can't be hashtag black excellence, right? Like that's the only way you can show up as a black person and have the limelight is as hashtag black excellence, because anything separate from that is just like a no anything different from that is just like a turn off. Let's say these are things that are rooted in western ideals and like people who are trying to follow the white man's like idea of success, the white man idea of fame, the white man idea of talent, right? So someone like Sexy Red who has tattoos all over the place. Sexy Red has tattoos on her face, these long nails. She has hair that she changes all the time that are different colors. They're not natural colors and things like that. She's not the typical person you would see at the top of like a Fortune 500 corporation, right? So those are the people who we see at the top of these Fortune 500 corporations are the type of people that we deem as successful, right? We think that they're the ones who worked hard. They pulled themselves up by the bootstrap. They worked extra hard. They stayed up all night making sure that they are talented enough and successful enough to hold the positions that they hold, right? Not even though, meanwhile, the way that they are able to get into these positions is because their grandfather was the owner of the corporation, or their father put in a good word, or their mom, might know the person who is doing the hiring and things like that. So we like to conflate success with whiteness, with respectability, respectfulness, and like just that idea of white man's respect. So Sexy Red is going against the total opposite of those things, which is why she's always in conversation of whether or not she deserves the success that she has and whether or not like how long it's gonna last, and like everything is just under a microscope for her, for sure. So, when regular people being their authentic selves emerge into stardom, they are put into the limelight and discussed ad nauseum. First of all, I just learned what the phrase ad nauseum means, and it's Latin, I believe. And ad nauseum, I'm gonna put it on the screen, means to like overextent to the point where like it's like disgusting almost. Like nauseum, we know what nausea means, like nauseous, gonna throw up, gonna hurl, feeling uneasy and queasy in the stomach. So when I say when people are thrusted into the limelight, everything they do is discussed ad nauseum. I'm saying like everything is just like I said under a magnifying glass. We're talking about it so much where it's just like almost disgusting. And also, I just want to say I learned that phrase from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So don't let anyone tell you that reality TV is not like educational. I've learned so much from reality TV, specifically the Real Housewives franchise. But anyways, let's not digress too much, girl, because you already know I can obsess over Real Housewives. Anyways, We put so much pressure to be entertaining and to stay relevant, where they have to do continuous interviews, tell alls, intimate tours, and share personal stories or secrets. When you give more information, it can be spun to whatever narrative the platform wants. This has been happening to Sexyy Red. This like one example I could say about Sexyy Red going on tour and expressing who she is and like um having to deal with the repercussions of her just being her genuine self is when she went on I forgot, it was like some like podcast video podcast interview. I think I might post the clip in here of where she goes and she's talking to some guy and he's asking her to be really vulnerable and open and like share some deep dark secret with him, and she tells him that like she's been RAPE'd before. And he's like, oh, no, sorry, not that deep, not that secretive, not that, like he's just so uncomfortable. Now he jittery, right? Can barely get sentences out of his mouth. So it's just like, okay, well, which one do you want me to be honest, or do you want me to just say what you want me to say?
Can you tell us like the craziest thing that's ever happened to you?
Crazy shit. It's gonna stay between us.
I got raped before. That's the craziest thing that ever happened to me.
Maybe something a little under that.
Yeah,
Maybe something.
let's go.
Okay,
I mean, I don't know,
Maybe,
like-
maybe something.
Shootout?
Yeah, there we go. Shootout.
Yeah,
you
there
know.
we go.
High
There we go.
speed?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
more what we were thinking. We didn't-
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Wait.
I'm sorry. What's that? we just want to say we are sorry that.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah, wait, that's definitely.
That is bad.
That is unfortunate.
It's not something we should speak on.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the shootouts and stuff. Wow. You know, you have done a lot of things,
Yeah, I have.
and now you're a big rapper.
That and how like that was like a whole reaction, things like that. It was definitely a teachable moment where it showed that women, black women specifically, black women who are quote unquote at risk for like traumatic events happening to them, how it's hard for us to be vulnerable and honest when people are calling for us to be, like people are asking us to be honest, people are asking us to be soft, people are asking us to be vulnerable. And when you shed just a little bit of that, sis didn't even go into detail. Sexyy Red didn't even go into detail or anything like that. Like she just like expressed that, and the guy was like up in arms. Where in that moment he could have been like, "Sorry to hear that." Like, you know, I don't know if that's something that you would want to express on camera because we are going to be on a public platform. If you are comfortable with it, you can share minor details, trying to like avoid things that might trigger other people and things like that. It could have been a moment to share how this occurrence of being sexually assaulted is really common actually and should be avoided by the perpetrators, who are usually the men in our communities. But instead it was turned into something where it was like laughed off because of discomfort. Anyways, girl, I just want to note that Sexyy Red is a human being that has nuanced identities, experiences, understandings, and capacities. So let's discuss some viral experiences that she's had to share with the public that has motherfuckers buzzing. Let's discuss what she's been going through that has the people talking. Okay, people have been talking about Sexyy Red because sis is really like controversial. Okay, so I want to start off with Trump, and what is she talks about when she had got interviewed by some white man. I'm honestly tired of white people interviewing black people. At least like I'm honestly tired of urban, like people, white people having an urban audience. Anyways, girl, Sexyy Red was doing an interview with some white man, and he had brought up Donald Trump for some reason, and um Sexyy Red had replied and was like, "Oh yeah, I fuck with Trump." Like da da da. I'm probably gonna put the clip in there. Hopefully I don't like get copyrighted, but I'm not monetized yet. Speaking of which, can you like the video and subscribe? Like the video and subscribe. 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 Anyways, I'm trying to get monetized. I need that fatty poppy. I need that fatty. Anyway, so I'm just gonna say like a few things that I'm just gonna like quote a few things that Sexyy Red had said when Donald Trump was brought up. So she was saying that she fucked with him. She's saying like Sexyy Red said Donald Trump was getting black people out of jail, which is true-ish. Like he was granting pardons and stuff like that, even though like it has been revealed that he was getting paid to grant those pardons, or like people were paying him to grant pardons, allegedly. Please don't sue me. So she was saying he was getting black people out of jail, and also like was giving people stimulus checks during COVID-19, um, which first of all, it's not true. It's not like the president himself was just like, you know what the people need? They need money during this pandemic time. Because I remember a lot of Republicans actually being like against that and saying like, oh my God, our tax dollars are gonna go up. Like Republicans are always just saying taxes, taxes, taxes are gonna go up. I'm like, baby, the taxes are already high. Okay, the taxes are up, friend. Okay, the taxes are up. Okay, we need another Boston Tea Party, if you ask me, okay? So we could be anti-tax, anti-tariff, okay? The taxes are high, friend. Pay us that money. But anyway, no, Donald Trump wasn't single-handedly giving us money. And even if Donald Trump was single-handedly giving us money, I mean, that's what he's supposed to do. Like, if you're a leader of the free world and you're a leader of the country and there's a global pandemic going on and people can't work and people are losing jobs, people are sick, and hell, the least you could do is give us some bread. The least you could do is give us some bread. And then, like, you didn't even give us that much bread. So if you ask me, like, that's what should have been done. And it all honestly should have been done to a even larger extent. Let's be real. We should still be getting stimulus checks right now. Okay? Just to, like, live in America, we should be getting paid to live in America. It's such a, like, a landmine of fuckery. Let me not digress. Let me not digress because I can. Anyways, so just to quote a little bit more of what Sexyy Red was saying about Donald Trump, she was like, "Oh yeah, we love Donald Trump." She's like, "We love him," and I'm like, "We? No, mama. You speak in French, mama. We don't love him, mama." She's like, "We love him. We miss him. We want him back." She was also talking about like some of the controversial things that Donald Trump was like in the media for, and she was like, oh, "Yeah, he was saying a little shit about women. You know, like when he was like grab her by the boop, like grab her by the pussy and stuff like that." She's like, "Yeah, saying a little shit about women." I'm like, misogyny, ooh, sexism. Like to shrink it down to it being like saying little shit about women. I'm like, ooh, if only it was just him saying little shit about women. And even if it was him saying little shit about women, like you're ruling a country, friend. Like I need you to have your politics and your political awareness. I need you to have some type of emotional intelligence, emotional maturity, like emotional stability, some type of mental stability, right? So even if you are saying little shit about women, like Sexy Red said, like you're a leader of an entire country that women exist in. Like I don't need a misogynist to be my leader. I don't want a sexist to be my leader. Please do not return. Do not return. Anyways, so she was saying like we need people like him, and she agrees with him and like his anti-fatness and how it was so funny of him cracking jokes about fat people and like being anti-fat. She thinks he's funny, saying that we need people like him.
Do you think more people are going to support Trump now in the
I
hood
like
or
Trump.
no?
Yeah, they support him in the hood. Cause at first I don't think people was fucking with him like they thought he was racist, saying little shit and against women. But once he started getting black people out of jail and giving people their free money, oh baby, we love Trump. We need him back in office.
Yeah, that a little bit of free money goes a long way.
We need him back. Cause baby, them checks.
Yeah.
Oh yes, them stimulus checks, Trump, we miss you.
That's like Whoa Vicky. She's always talking about Trump. You see her ever?
I like Trump. No, I ain't never seen Whoopi.
She's funny.
I love Trump though. He funny to me. Like I used to watch his not interviews, like him talking to people. He used to be calling people fat.
Yeah.
He just bold.
Wow.
He funny. Like we need people like him.
That just reminds me that like anti-blackness is like just cause what? This man has been so anti-black like the majority of his life and like outwardly, and then he got even worse when it was him running for presidency. So it's just like disturbing how like all that can be swept under the rug because of like these other little small things that are, I guess, wanted or needed because of poverty and because of lack of um education, I guess. Girl, anyways, to wrap up the comments Sexy Red had about Donald Trump in the bow, I will say this. I'm going to get a little bit more in depth about America's education system and specifically to the city and state that Sexy Red is from, and actually the county that Sexy Red is from. I did research into the county that Sexy Red is from just to really see like what does the education look like there, and what are the expectations for like literacy level and things like that. But I will say that Sexy Red is not the only person that has that outlook on Donald Trump, that outlook on politics. I know a lot of people that are educated and respectable and smart, quote unquote, at least self-proclaimed to be, um, that think the same things that Sexy Red does. Thinks that the stimulus checks are something to be applauded and something that we should make monuments for Donald Trump for, and like why, like we should elect him to be president again because he gave people stimulus checks, even though like that's what you're supposed to do. You're a leader. You're a leader of a country, friend. The least you can do is pay people who don't have jobs. The least you can do is like make sure people aren't being evicted out of their homes during a global pandemic. Like that's not something to applaud. That's something that is like basic as fuck. But it also shows how desperate the American people are, where getting thrown crumbs is like cause for a parade and cause for people to be like, bring him back. Because how much was the stimmies again? 1,200, 1,500 each. Um, I only got one, so that's why I know that I'm saucy. Okay, so yeah, like that's really basic. As a leader, you're supposed to see what the people need, and you provide that to your people, right? It's not something that you're just like, whoa, like. Anyways, girl, moving on. I also wanted to bring up the fact that the sex tape that got exposed, like Sexy Red sex tape that got exposed, during the same interview where she was being interviewed by that white man, she was like, sometimes I hate being famous. And I could only imagine, like, as someone who's a really, really small creator, I'm a really small creator. Um, the attention that I get is sometimes overwhelming. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, how do celebrities do this? I'm just like, how does Beyonce do this? Like, seriously, like, it's just really overwhelming. So, Sexy Red saying, like, I hate being famous. She said that during an interview before her sex tape got leaked on Instagram. Um, so allegedly, there's a guy that Sexy Red was fucking with, and he posted a private sex video on her Instagram story. To my knowledge, she did not consent to that, and we know that because of her tweet saying that she would never do that goofy shit. I'm gonna probably insert that tweet somewhere on the screen, but that was just a confirmation. Even though like majority of people who have brains was just like, okay, clearly someone is doing like some type of revenge porn kind of thing, or like trying to expose her, embarrass her, or something like that. But the confirmation was her tweeting like, "I would never do no goofy shit like that. Like, I'm so embarrassed," which is like really sad. I feel really horrible for her, and like my heart goes out to her because that's such a vulnerable moment. Like, it's just really, really fucked up for someone to do something like that. Anyway, so there was like dogpiling on her about how she should have chose better men, how she should choose better people. Like now she's famous, she should know better. Like you can't be fucking with no scrubs, and you shouldn't be fucking with no nigga who got a ankle monitor on and things like that. And I'm just like, how are we turning this into it being her fault? How are we turning someone's actions against her into it being her fault? Like everyone's actions are their own actions. Whoever did that and posted the sex tape to her story is responsible for that. Those are his actions. He chose to do that. He is the one that is responsible for that. And he should be beat in this industry with sticks. Hello? Hello, Street Justice, are you there? Let me turn on my echo. Hello, Street Justice, are you there? Period,
Period,
echo.
Echo.
Anyways, the person who posted this and the blame is not being centered. Like her accountability in this situation is like everybody wants to hurry up and hold Sexy Red accountable for these actions to have been like her own, even though she's not the one who was responsible for posting a video of a very intimate moment of herself. So yeah, it's just really sick. Like there have been memes, there have been like essay long discourses and like gotcha moments where like, well, if he wasn't doing this, this wouldn't have happened, or if he wasn't fucking with this person, then that wouldn't have happened, and you should know better, and you da 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 da. It's just like really like gross just to see. People have tried to discount her authenticity based on the revenge porn and have tried to find ways to make the victim of an embarrassing and vengeful social media moment solely responsible. Like people are like so ignorant where it's like, I thought you said your coochie was pink, your coochie's brown, and it's just like, come on now, let's bring back the anatomy. Let's bring back anatomy and physiology classes. Are people learning anatomy and physiology? Are people taking notes during anatomy and physiology? I know that like those type of things make people uncomfortable. It's just like, vagina, ooh, urethra, ooh. And then also one thing that I remember from my middle school personally is the fact that like when we were talking about anatomy, physiology, and like adolescence and like puberty and things like that, like surrounding like female sexual organs, male sexual organs, periods, sex, STIs, STDs. I remember they would like separate the boys and the girls from each other, which I feel like is not helpful because then we turn around and like years later, people are thinking that a coochie is, first of all, the entire vagina. And people are thinking like the entire vagina is pink. People are thinking that there's just a vagina and like it's just like one organ, like it's just one, just like a vagina. Like people don't understand there are parts to it and things like that. So I just want to say like the education system in America is fucked. I'm going to go into more details about that later. After all of those extremely harsh moments, specifically like her sex tape being exposed, Sexy Red was still like touring, taking pictures, doing interviews, like releasing music and stuff. And I'm like, hello, are you okay? Like, girl, you need a break. You need a break. Rest and restoration. I mean, relax and restoration, friend. You need a break, girl. But I mean, when you're in that spotlight and when you are a celebrity, especially like in that music industry, they just want more and more and more and more. And especially since she's like in that phase of like really conjuring up like huge audience and like huge fame and like really in the spotlight, she has to keep going because if not, there's just like idea that you'll fizzle out. There's an idea that you'll lose relevancy, even though I don't believe that that's true. I think that's just like a fear mongering tactic to just keep having you produce things and create things in that way. Um, Maybe it's true. I don't freaking know. Okay, I don't know the stats on being in the music industry, but yeah, I just feel like there have been no days off for Sexy Red, and also I know that there is that idea of like all press is good press. You know, whether it's like bad press or like whatever, like bad press is press still or whatever. So I don't know who's on her team or anything like that, but Miss Mamas need like massages and to relax and to sleep in and like a break and like she just needs to relax. Like it's been a lot since it's been absolutely like under a magnifying glass for sure. Okay, and then also like when I wrote these notes initially, this was like I wrote these notes when like the sex tape initially happened for her, which was like maybe 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. But now there's even more news surrounding Sexy Red and the fact that like she's with child. So congratulations to Sexy Red. I hope that she's happy about this. She seems extremely happy about it. There's like rumors about who the baby daddy could be and things like that. Like I'm not gonna get into that because like that's irrelevant. And it's up to her to like express those things in the same way like she waited to express that she was pregnant at all and how she was hiding it. It's up to her to decide when she wants to share who it is, whether she even decides and share who the baby is for. Um, and yeah, like now she's in the spotlight even more. Like there's even more commentary around it. There's even more conversation around that. I fuck with Sexy Red. She's a human being. I'm a human being.
I'm a human being.
Sis out here, she young and she getting it. She talented, and I saw. Okay, so I want to get into some statistics about America's education system within the last 20 years. But before I do that, let's take a sip of this champagne, baby. Okay? Baby. Baby. When I tell you, peach soda, right? But it gets you turned. Okay? Anyways, back to the task at hand. So, I did some research about America's education system within the last 25 years. I also did some research on America's literacy and like what that looks like. So the statistics that I'm reading right now come from apmresearchlab.org. 54% of Americans between the ages of 16 and 74 read below a sixth grade level. Um, that's more than half of the population. I'm just gonna repeat that again. 54%. Like when you think about a pizza, like whenever it comes to percentages and like fractions and stuff, I think of it as like a pie, a cake, a pizza. Because sometimes it's like, okay, yeah, you're just throwing out these numbers, but it's like, what does that look like? What does that mean? So I think I'm gonna put up a pie chart or some type of visual that shows what 54% looks like in a pizza or a cake or something like that. 54% of Americans between the ages of 16 and 74 read below a sixth grade level. Um, that's pretty ugh, ugh, for them to be over here bombing other countries, for them to be over here supporting like genocide and fueling and funding unnecessary wars and to be going into debt to, fund unnecessary atrocities, right? Y'all could be putting your money elsewhere, right? Because we know that there are ways to make sure that your population is like literate. Other countries that do it. I know that like Cuba is one of them, and I don't know if it's Finland or like Greenland, Iceland, one of them. Like other countries, if you're putting your money into something, you need to do it for like the greater good of your population. However, if you keep your population illiterate, then it's easier to get over on them when it comes to I don't know, this thing called what is it? Capitalism. That's right. And what does capitalism do? Oh, it's slave labor. That's right. Well, what was it? What is capitalism rooted in? Rooted from? Chattel slavery. That's it. Okay. Anyways, don't get me started. Don't get me started. But yeah, for this country to be so free and so liberated, right? And like we always sticking our nose, we always sticking our big white nose, our big white man nose into somebody else's business. 54% of your population reads under a sixth grade level. Like you got bigger fish to fry, friend. Like you got bigger fish to fry. But anyways, I also noted and like want to make clear that reading is more than like sounding out letters on a screen or like calling out words because like it's easy to read like something on the screen like green eggs and ham. Like yeah, you can read green eggs and ham, but if you don't know what the color green is, right? If you don't know what eggs are, right? If you don't know what ham is, you're just reading words on a screen. You don't know green eggs and ham. It's like kind of like a silly phrase, right? Green eggs don't exist, right? And to eat it with ham, it's just like, okay. But if you're just reading the words off the screen, then you're just saying green eggs and ham. But if you don't know what those words mean, if you're not digesting the concept of the fact that that's kind of like a silly phrase, right? Then you don't understand that you're reading a nursery rhyme, right? You don't understand that you're reading something that's not like absolute, right? Ooh. So, yeah, like reading is more than just sounding out letters and calling out words. The skills of literacy include things like comprehension, evaluation, and utilization of information. So let me say that one more time. The skills of literacy include things like comprehension, right? Do you comprehend what's going on? Do you understand what you're saying? Right? Evaluation. Okay, you understand what you're saying. Now when you put it together, how does that make sense to you? Like what is the sense? What is the sense? Does it bring out senses to you? Do you see something when you read it? Does it give you like something? Is it describing a sound? Is it describing a taste of something? Like what is the sense that it brings to you in that evaluation? And the utilization of that information. Okay, now that it's bringing those things, like is it pulling at your heartstrings, your emotions? Is it telling you to build something? Is it telling you to reflect on something? Is it a historical piece? And things like that. Like being literate is more than just being like, I can read green eggs and ham. It's more just like, okay, I read green eggs and ham. Green eggs aren't a thing. Green eggs and ham, that's supposed to be something that's like food, right? So this is bringing out like playfulness, silliness, lightheartedness, right? So that's just an example of like how to digest information in that way and how to be literate, right? Because reading is not literacy. Okay. So some folks can call names off of a page, but is unable to tell if the writing is biased. That's another form of like being illiterate. Or some folks can read multiple articles that talk about the same topic, but with different arguments and cannot tell that there are point differences. So people can read, but they don't understand that it might be an argument, like one point against another, and et cetera, et cetera. These are things that you learn from just reading and like practicing reading. Like practice makes perfect. The only way that you can really get through and like understand this is by practicing. In the same way, like people don't come out the womb jumping rope. You're not gonna come out the womb being literate. Like this is a skill that you build up and like just with time and practice. That's how it go. All right. So, there is another thing that I want to point out here. It's not a statistic, but it is like a study that I have found in Forbes.com, the magazine. I'm going to link all of these things below if people are interested in doing a little bit more digging. So, I saw that the Forbes magazine said literacy is correlated with several important life outcomes like personal income, employment level, health, and economic growth. I feel like this is biased and classist because they're saying personal income, employment level, health, and economic growth. It's just like based on what litmus? Like, yes, health, but like what kind, like health based on what? Because we know that like the health industry and the health like sector is like racist as fuck. You feel me? Like y'all racist, right? Anyone over a certain pound, you're immediately calling them this. You're immediately putting them under this category. Anyone that doesn't show up in a certain way, you're immediately diagnosing them with something specific, right? Instead of looking more nuanced at different levels. So I feel like it's biased because like you can be born rich and like that ensues that you're going to be rich. That doesn't mean that you are literate, right? It's saying like economic growth, like literacy is correlated with life outcomes and economic growth and personal growth. But if you're born into money, you don't have to learn how to read. You don't have to be literate, right? You were born into money. So while I understand what they mean with that, how like I mean it doesn't hurt. Being literate definitely like helps out. I will say that. It's not a hurt. Being literate is something that is definitely a bonus, absolutely a skill, absolutely something to like check off, right? And also, girl, white man standard is not my standard. Let's just say that. Anyways, so I wanted to see exactly where Sexy Red was from and what the literacy looked like there and what the education levels looked like from St. Louis, Missouri, because that's where Sexy Red is from, okay? So I'm trying to see like what y'all learning over there, cause girl. Okay, so the state of Missouri is in the South, but it is not the lowest ranks of literacy. The exact county that Sexy Red is from scores higher than other counties in Missouri in literacy. So, to my surprise, not necessarily like to my surprise, because Sexy Red seems pretty coherent and like actually really intelligent. So, I'm not trying to say that she's not intelligent or anything like that. However, like just some of the comments that she said about the whole Donald Trump thing really threw me off. Where I'm just like, do you need hello friend friend friend, are you okay, friend? So I just wanted to see like where you coming from with this, but Missouri is actually pretty decent in their literacy, and the county that Sexy Red is from is actually pretty high up there in literacy compared to the entire state of Missouri. The country as a whole has a really high illiteracy rate, and this is a reflection in our culture on and offline. So, for Sexy Red to say that we love Trump because he gave us stimmies is really ignorant and could easily be debunked with a deeper understanding of literacy in American politics. Like, I can easily debunk the fact that Donald Trump isn't the person that gave us stimulus checks and he shouldn't be reelected into office. Hello? 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 Okay. I gotta make sure this thing is on. Okay, like I could easily debunk that Donald Trump is not the person that gave us stimulus checks, right? That's just like just by looking up a few things, right? Like that's public knowledge. And even if it's not public knowledge to go research, like history tells you that like these presidents are a joke and that they're all puppets. Anyways, girl, Donald Trump didn't give us anything, and even if he did, isn't that what presidents are supposed to do? Like, I feel like I said that already, but like, I even noted that here. Like, that's what presidents are supposed to do when the nation is in a crisis. Like, you're supposed to help your people out. That's the whole point of you being a leader. Because if you're not doing that, somebody else. Why are you here, friend? Why are you giving special power if you're not going to use that power and help out the people that you're supposed to be in control of, girl? It's a fucking mess. Ooh, Lord. So I just want to end off by saying American culture is praising and laughing at ignorance, using ignorance for clickbait and then moving on. We reward famous people for being really bad at obviously clear politics when they should not be getting asked certain questions in the first place. Ooh, girl, this is a long video. This might have to be a two-parter. This might have to be a two-parter. I thought it was gonna be one video, girl. No, girl, I took some notes, girl. The statistics of literacy is for me to like prove how there is so much ignorance with American politics and how Sexy Red talking about Donald Trump and things like that is just based on like American literacy, American education, and how like it's very normal for people to think the way that Sexy Red does. So I just want to talk about that, but then also like her not being to blame. It's not Sexy Red's fault that she thinks that Donald Trump is the best thing since sliced bread. So I also want to talk about rape culture and the correlation between that and the sex tape that got exposed. So, rape culture, where is the consent? So I'm going to insert this rape culture pyramid that was a really good visual I had saw years ago. Very helpful for me to get that visual where it's just like it starts at the bottom and it stems from like it stems from jokes and unwanted interactions and then it goes all the way to full-blown assault. So a lot of the way it's the victim though, like most steps of the way we can always find ways and we always hear and see examples of how the rape culture is the victim's fault, which is another way that rape culture is fed. because if we were just calling out like, hey, that's a little rapey, friend, then we would get a slow down, a stop, and a pause on the behavior. But if we find a way to blame the victim for the behavior, then there is no perpetrator, right? There is no one to be held responsible. There's no one to demand accountability from. So I just want to go through a few examples of famous people that had to deal with rape culture and what that looked like. So Terry Crews was blamed and made fun of for admitting that he was sexually assaulted by a famous white man in the Hollywood world. People told Terry Crews that he should have assaulted the man back since he is buff and physically strong. But anyone that has ever experienced assault knows that it's never that simple. There's multiple ways that people can respond to assault. There's multiple ways people can respond to unwanted touch and unwanted interactions, and all of those ways are valid, right? Whether that's silently just freezing or whether that's killing the person who is giving you unwanted touch and assaulting you. I feel like all those ways are valid. They're all on a spectrum of responses to unwanted touch. And if you're giving someone unwanted touch, whatever you get is what you deserve, right? Let's keep our hands to ourselves. Let's keep our body parts to ourselves. Let's keep unnecessary comments to ourselves. Another example is Anita Hill, and I've always been so fascinated with the story of Anita Hill and what happened. Let's get into some details, shall we? So, Anita Hill was a promising young lawyer that was sexually harassed by one of our current Supreme Justices, Clarence Thomas. Let me repeat that. She was sexually assaulted by one of our current Supreme Justices, Clarence Thomas. Yes, Clarence Thomas, the man who sexually harassed Anita Hill, allegedly, let's just say allegedly, is currently a Supreme Justice right now who is voting on extremely like momentous bills in our Supreme Court right now. Great. All right. So Anita Hill spoke out and recounted several sexually inappropriate work experiences Thomas had enacted against her. Anita had to speak publicly in grave detail about the different situations she was put in by her boss, Clarence Thomas. He had a support team of extremely rich and political people, including our current President of the United States, Joe Biden. Let me repeat that. During the case of Anita Hill versus what's his man name? Clarence Thomas. I don't know if it was Anita Hill versus Clarence Thomas or if it was the people versus Clarence Thomas. When Anita Hill was recounting the experiences that she had with Clarence Thomas sexually harassing her, he had an extremely strong team, including Joe Biden. Joe Biden was another person that was supporting Clarence Thomas and his sexual harassment against Anita Hill. These are the people that we have in power: misogynists, rape apologists, racists, and just things like that. Where it's just like, why are we falling behind these people again? Why are we constantly allowing these people to be the ones to make decisions for us? Hmm. Sounds like we need a revolution. But anyways, in this case, Anita was constantly gaslit and loopholed into unnecessary court procedures to make her seem like a crazy whore that wanted to take down a successful black man. Ultimately, Anita Hill did not win the case, and Clarence Thomas was sworn into the Supreme Court shortly after. It's a shame. It's very disturbing. Luckily, Anita Hill is like, I don't know, sis is speaking her truth. Okay, let's just say that. I am bringing up these popular cases of sexual assault because of the way we treat accusations of sexual assault. Because we live under a system of patriarchy and are constantly being fed that men are supposed to conquer, conquest, be the predator, the decision maker, the one that is held in the highest regard. Men are expected to be the head of the household, the company, and the country, right? When we think of who's the head of the country, it's going to be a man president. When we think of who's going to be the CEO of a company, it's a man. When we think of who's the head of the household, it's a man, right? We're in a system of patriarchy. So when they are called out for wrongdoing, it is almost as if the person calling them out is fucking up the system in place. Men are not supposed to be held accountable under the system of patriarchy. Under the system of patriarchy, men are supposed to do whatever they want and get away with it. Men can sexually assault people and not be punished because that is exactly how the system of patriarchy is supposed to work. Sick shit, but it is the truth. Hello? Hello? Is this thing on? Hello? Is this thing on? Bitch, I'm speaking straight fucking facts. But yeah, like when you think about a system, because I feel like it's easy to be like, to see things as like racist or like sexist, especially when it's like flat out, right? Not even with like the passive aggressive, like macroaggressions, right? Or microaggressions, where if someone is like, "You're a nigger," okay, that's racist. That's racist, and we know how to avoid certain racists. Like if we see a Confederate flag, we know like you're probably a racist. If we see that you are supporting certain politicians, we're like, okay, you're probably a racist. If you're living in a certain town and you're like, right? Like we assume that it's racist, but when it comes to patriarchy, it's not as overt. It's much more covert. But one result of patriarchy is absolutely rape culture, in the way where men are able to assault you, whether it is sexual assault or not, and then get away with it, right? And for you to call them out on it, you're the one that needs to be punished. You're the one that actually needs to be ridiculed and put under a magnifying glass. Look what happened to Megan Thee Stallion. Look what happened to Anita Hill. Look what happened to all these women that dare to speak out against the people who perpetrate them, and how their lives are put on display, and they're the ones that are under the scrutiny, right? I'm saying all of this because of the reactions that happened when there was a video of Sexyy Red during an intimate sexual experience floating around the internet. Rumors are there is a dude that she's been seeing that exposed the video, and that he has done something similar before in the past. I don't know who the nigga is from a can of paint, and I will not waste my time looking into him because he a loser ass nigga. But a large amount of folks online described him as someone that is on house arrest with an ankle monitor. So yeah, I'm like, is that her baby daddy that she's always saying free her baby daddy, or is he still locked up? Like, I don't know. I don't know. There was so much discussion about Sexyy Red and her choice in being intimate with him, that the fact that he revealed one of the most vulnerable moments to the public to be shared and watched forever and ever was completely glossed over. Like people were too busy like pointing the finger at her and telling her that you shouldn't have been fucking with that nigga anyway. That we're missing the actual problem here, which is like the nigga shouldn't have exposed such an intimate moment, right? Like that's some bird shit. You're a loser. You're a loser. You're not a winner. That's not winner behavior. So yeah, like we should hypothetically have been beating the nigga with sticks in the street, right? Like we shouldn't be hypothetically thinking about what she should have done to avoid the situation. Okay, the situation happened, very unfortunate. What are we gonna do about it? Let's get some street justice into play and let's beat him up. Right? Let's beat him up. So I want to move on to the responsibility of representation, and how the responsibility of representation and fame. So, Sexy Red is not a scholar, and that's okay. Like, that's fine. Like, we have scholars. Let's listen to the scholars, though, right? Like, Sexy Red is not James Baldwin or Nina Simone. The times where we can ask famous people about race, financial, and gender politics is over. There might be some celebs that get it right, but that is ultimately not their job to be a political commentator. Celebs are responsible for their craft and other crafts that they indulge in. For Sexy Red to be on a podcast and ask about United States presidents with no pushback or challenge when she says something factually incorrect speaks to why celebs need to stay in their lane, and also how podcasters are not journalists or even decent interviewers. Like, Nina Simone was a famous singer and artist, and sis was politically up to date. You feel me? Like sis knew what was going on. She knew politicians. She was out in them streets. She knew what was going on, right? Like sis was keeping herself up to date with what was going on politically, right? Same with James Baldwin. You ask James Baldwin a question, he was a famous author, right? A famous writer, a famous like speaker, right? Poet. And when you asked him about politics, my guy knew what was going Mr. Baldwin knew what was going on, right? These people kept themselves up to date with politics. They made sure that they stayed within the loop and on the ground with the people that the politics were affecting. So when it comes to like now and fast forward to present day, like yeah, I feel like it's cute for us to ask celebrities like um about what's going on, like some pop culture, like well, what's relevant right now, what people are talking about, things like that. But I feel like it should be in their lane of expertise, because if not, they can end up saying something that's harmful and possibly like violent, right? Like Sexy Red shouldn't be talking about United States politics in that way. Like, anyways, also, Sexy Red is not a representative for all black people, black women, black ghetto folks, and so on. Like, even some people are just like, you need to stay talking about just black ghetto stuff. I'm just like, she's not a representation for that either. Sexy Red is a representative for herself and herself only. Let me repeat that. Sexy Red is a representative for herself and herself only. Okay? If she declares otherwise, then so be it. However, to put the responsibility to represent demographics and to know everything about everything is unfair and unreasonable. Sexyy Red is famous for being a rapper, not a professor, scientist, or author. There are ways to get creative and ask questions about relevant pop culture without going too far outside of a celebrity's scope of work and understanding and expertise. It's like asking a ballerina how she feels about new technology and upcoming Tesla models. While she might have a proper answer, what the fuck does that have to do with a pas de bourrée? Shout out to all the ballerinas. Shout out to all the people who speak French. Come on, pas de bourrée. What can we learn from this? Well, we can learn that celebrities are just humans that just happen to have more eyes on them, right? Like celebrities, you're not all of a sudden like some deity, right? Or some worship worthy being, right? You're just a regular human being that just happen to have more eyes on you. Let's stick to what they know. Let's stick to what they know. Let's hello. The more famous people are, the less awareness they have about what everyday people deal with and the struggle of liberation. Um, yeah, like the more famous someone is, the more out of touch they are with people who are on the ground, people who are still struggling, people who are still fighting for liberation. I think about Oprah and like her being so like out of touch with what was going on in Hawaii and how she has property in Hawaii and how she was trying to make it seem like she was just giving so much back to Hawaii. I think about LeBron James and his ignorant comments about Palestine and what's going on with in Palestine and how he was just totally out of the loop of what's going on for real. Like, friend, shut up, friend. Shut up, friend. And like Jay-Z and how Jay-Z thought that it was like a good idea to give people $15 or I think it was $25. I think he gave $25 worth of cryptocurrency to people that lived in his old like Section 8 housing apartments and was like, "Oh, let's see if y'all can flip that $25 into something else." Or he was giving out like free cryptocurrency classes and thought that that was a way to like better the community. I'm like, "Friend, aren't you like a billionaire?" Like, stop playing. Celebrity culture. Mm. Another thing that we can learn is that celebrities are not the voice of the people and should not be the source of people's information. Being literate and engaging with the process of reading, researching, and discussing with peers is a better way to handle processing politics. Also, everything is political, not just politics. Your race, your identity is political. Where you live is political. The food you eat is political. The type of car you drive, the type of transportation that you use is political. Everything is done like in a political sense. And I mean, while it is exhausting to see things in that way all the time, it also is very eye opening because it allows you to see like where you stand in this hamster wheel in this matrix of the United States of America, in this matrix of the Western world and Western ideals. So just keep that in mind that, like, hey, like, everything is political. So while I'm saying, like, Sexyy Red shouldn't be asked about politics and things like that, what I'm really saying is we should focus into her area of expertise and then go from there. Simple as that. Celebrities are not the voice of the people. Celebrities shouldn't be held to that regard. It's simply not fair. And especially when it's just like a young black woman that's out here, she's just trying to turn up for real. So she's just trying to get out the hood for real, okay? So I'm gonna allow her and give her a little pass, talking about the stimmies and how she really fucked with that man because he gave stimmies, even though that's not the case. Um, but yeah, purr. Oh my god, I've been talking so long and it's so crazy because like I was gonna make a video about Palestine in this video and I'm already at an hour of recording. Like where? So I think I'm gonna make another video, a separate video after like take a break, possibly I don't know, indulge, maybe eat, something like that, relax, stretch my legs, stuff like that, and get into like the Palestine topic. That's probably gonna be a part two, a video part two of like politics and pop culture and what's going on. If not, I'm gonna smush it in this video and we'll just see, girl. It might just be a lengthy, long format video, but we'll see. If you got this far, please like the video. If you got this far, please comment on the video. Even if you just comment an emoji, right? Comment a blue emoji. I'm wearing a blue sweater. So if you got this far, please comment a blue emoji. I absolutely appreciate the engagement. It helps me. It's something free you can do to support my page for now. Please support my page in all the ways you can by sharing this video. Share the video, girl. Like, stop playing. Like, share the video, comment on it, like it, rewatch it, talk about it. You feel me? Like, let it inspire you. And I'm curious to know like what your thoughts are and like what your ideas are on things that I brought up. This has been a mouthful. It's been pretty lengthy, so I am grateful that I was able to like get it out. I wrote the script like a few weeks ago, so I'm just glad that I had the energy and like, girl, the like wherewithal to really like produce it and stuff like that. Thank you for coming this far. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you fucked with it. I hope you had a good time watching it as much as I did making it. It was actually a lot of fun. And period, girl. Brow, brow, brow.